My name is Brad Pilon, and I wasn't able to save my father. I failed not because I didn't fight, but because I didn't fight hard enough for him. I sit here disheartened, knowing had he lived for just a few years longer, I believe my discovery may have saved his life. I just wish his doctors had listened to me when I brought up what may be the breakthrough answer on how men can beat type 2 diabetes. But the doctors didn't listen to me when I mentioned a different and maybe easier way for my dad to beat his diabetes. Instead, they made me feel dumb. They wrote me off as if I were wasting their time. If I only fought harder and didn't let them write me off, I can only hope for your sake, if you're facing this life-robbing disease, you wouldn't think it's the worst idea in the world to be open to a new, proven, and easier way to beating male type 2 diabetes. Right now, I'm asking men to forget the common and questionable treatments which barely manage male type 2 diabetes, and to consider what scientific consensus believes to be the new and simple answer for men on how to finally beat this silent killer. You see, my dad was one of the 200 million men who fell victim to type 2 diabetes. He suffered through this disease for 12 years. It was an overwhelming burden on him and on our entire family. The complications are what likely triggered the most painful part of his slow death, a rare and crippling bone cancer. What pisses me off the most is when he got diagnosed in 1998, I held his possible solution in my hands. A way he could still be here today enjoying the golden years with his grandchildren. It's why I wish he had seen this video, because had he watched this, he would have learned the simple solution to beating male type 2 diabetes. I believe this solution will work for you. Now, before you brush me off, thinking this is the usual stuff you hear about handling diabetes, let me reassure you it's not. I'm not some run-of-the-mill health enthusiast with a mystical discovery. What I do isn't extreme or overly complicated. It's straight up the middle, and it works. I don't mess with uncertainties or theoreticals. I find safe and proven strategies which deliver results. It's why my programs are international bestsellers. I have degrees in applied human nutrition, nutraceutical sciences, and nutritional science, all from the esteemed University of Guelph. What separates me from the mainstream is I have direct access to research not available to the general public. I have access to private research from the military, clinical studies, and even prominent institutions like Harvard. Studies and research which are kept under wraps from the general public for years. This incredible resource keeps me 5 years ahead of many of the other experts you'll meet. These are the kinds of studies which make headline news in the future. You have no reason to believe what I just said. I might have given you a reason to ignore me, but I'm here to help the men serious about beating type 2 diabetes. So if you're willing to set aside disbelief for a few moments, then I'm going to show you which studies prove to be the only known solutions for male type 2 diabetes. Look, male type 2 diabetes is far different than the diabetes which affects women. Your answer to beating it is also different. All I ask is you give me a few minutes of your time to see for yourself how to beat male type 2 diabetes. Because as all the research indicates, you don't have 5 years to wait. But in 5 minutes and 23 seconds, you'll learn the easy little finger test which gives men the answer to beat this disease. Look, type 2 diabetes is probably the last thing you want to think about. And like millions of men, you're stuck with 2 treatment options. 1, the medical establishment. Here, you get lumped into a system using an outdated formula. Drugs, injections, glucose monitoring, and some eat healthy advice. 2, health enthusiasts. Here you have so-called experts or someone with a secret discovery. It's all the obvious stuff. Big pharma conspiracy theories, cookbooks, superfoods, or some health fad eating plan. Each miss the real problems men face. Problems like stubborn belly fat, feeling depressed, crippling side effects from treatments, increased risk of heart disease or cancer, amputation, and it's never mentioned how your sex life is castrated. Today, we are at the forefront of a new answer, one backed with 13 years of research, one proven to work fast. It's time you get the answer to beat this disease. The current methods to treat and manage type 2 diabetes are quickly becoming outdated. Frankly, they never worked quite right to begin with. In fact, one standard treatment makes your condition 10% worse, while another wildly popular approach maims your health by a whopping 75%. This is not at all what I want for you, and I doubt it's what you want. Now, it's not news that type 2 diabetes is an epidemic. It has been since 1980, but men get the brunt of it. For example, in 2013, 14 million more men were affected with type 2 diabetes compared to women. Since then, it's only gotten worse. There is a reason for this gender gap, as you're about to see. The good news is awareness surrounding male type 2 diabetes has increased, and also the research has exploded. In 2002, when I began looking for answers to help my dad, there were only 4 or 5 research papers about this specific solution to male type 2 diabetes. Today, there are over 700 plus and counting. Each of those papers points to one single conclusive answer. It's not some new drug or a complicated program to help manage your condition. The answer might come as a shock, because it also burns fat, helps restore your vitality, and supercharges your libido, just as a side effect. The answer? It's as simple as revitalizing a specific hormone in your body. This key hormone is a biological backbone every man from every walk of life possesses. In fact, things like unwanted fat gain, feeling worn out, weak libido, and male type 2 diabetes are signature symptoms of not possessing healthy levels of this hormone. But those signature symptoms are all reversible once you know the right formula to put this hormone in gear. There is a reason it is your biological backbone. There is an undeniable reason of how being liberated from the pitfall of male type 2 diabetes so you can enjoy the security of living a long, happy, and healthy life hinges solely upon your ability to boost your natural levels of this prime and dominant male hormone. Simply stated, this hormone is your mojo. And please realize that it is your ticket to good health. What's the answer? Raising your natural levels of testosterone. Sounds simple, right? But raising your levels aren't as easy as you might think. This is where I come in. Now, before we go further, I must address old stigmas surrounding testosterone, because it's crucial you realize how vital this hormone is for men. You might think that testosterone is only for restoring youth or for building muscle, and yes, it will have those effects, but for a moment, I ask you to forget what you may have heard, seen, or even know about testosterone, because none of it will apply to you here. Here's why. Boosting levels of testosterone for men with diabetes is radically different than it is for guys who want to look younger or wish to pack on muscle like a bodybuilder. And make no mistake, my goal is to help you eradicate your diabetes, not to turn you into some muscle-bound monster. I'm inviting you here to learn today the pioneering formula to raise this hormone in a way which frees you from male type 2 diabetes. Keep in mind, rejuvenating your levels of testosterone is your pathway to robust health. One thing is for sure, your health is tied to it, your physical function is tied to it, and even your emotional function is tied to it. Basic and simple biology show how your levels of testosterone indicate ability to prevent disease or cancer, cognitive function, normal glucose regulation and insulin sensitivity, how long you live, your sexual performance and libido, your ability to resist fat gain and replace flab with muscle. All of this and more is biologically linked to testosterone. I can't stress enough how important this hormone is for you. But has your doctor ever tested it for you? Probably not. On one hand, you may have wondered if your testosterone levels were too low. Maybe you felt you lost a bit of your mojo. If that's the case, then your gut instinct was on the right path. On the other hand, there's a chance you had your levels tested, and if so, great. But did you find out what your normal levels should be? Hopefully, maybe. Most tests claim you're normal at 300, or the doc may say you're fine, tell you everything looks to be okay, and then shoo you out the door. Well, is that okay for beating type 2 diabetes? As you might imagine, if you're facing type 2 diabetes, your natural levels of testosterone can't be up in the air. Believe it or not, but it's likely that you have suboptimal levels. Your levels at the very least must be at 600 to beat this disease. So why are men being told misinformed answers? Simply because of the widespread lack of knowledge on how testosterone interacts with insulin in men. And we can't overlook insulin. Now, more than likely, a doctor may have tested your levels. It's the first step in managing diabetes, but your doc probably missed how insulin has a direct impact on your testosterone. It's not his fault. Unfortunately, most doctors are unaware of the latest and conclusive research that shows raising your natural levels of testosterone is a massive step in the eradication of type 2 diabetes for men. How is this lack of awareness possible? I'll tell you the distressing reason why in just a moment, but right now it's imperative that you see the latest research that expose the 3 alarming trends men face. The first trend will come as no surprise. It is that type 2 diabetes is a fast-spreading epidemic. Since 1980, the risk for men getting type 2 diabetes has steadily risen. The second alarming trend? Testosterone levels in men are plummeting. Just as men getting type 2 diabetes started rising in 1980, men's testosterone levels began rapidly declining. Men, unfortunately, face a cruel biological fact. For every decade after the age of 25, your testosterone levels sink by 10%. So why the alarm?